for some test questions, or homework questions. I got 2 or 3 that was sent. Hey there. And here they are. I've only got 3 to go over, so I guess all of y'all understand the material in 2.1 and before. So nobody's sent any questions, so that means y'all understand it. And I looked over the homework, and some of y'all are on 2.2 and 2.3, and so that means you're understanding it. So some of you hadn't done anything, so I'm not worried about y'all. All right, so let's see. This is number 16, and number 4. So we'll go with number 4. And this is, now when I pull these up, this number 19 right here, if you open your book to 2.1 homework and you look at number 19, it looks like this problem. Okay? If you go to your online homework, number 4, it looks like this problem. So you need to write down in your notes 2.1.19/4. And that tells you it's number 19 in the book and it's number 4 online. Has everybody got that? So when I pull up a question like this, everybody needs to look, and I'm going to blow it up a little bit for easily, and everybody needs to look at this area right here on the email. And you need to write down online number 4 at least. So that way, while I'm doing the problem, you don't ask me what? What number is it? Okay? This is number 4 online. So let's click on it and go to it. This is a piecewise function. This is a test question. And it's not, piecewise functions are not, are not brought in until 2.5, I think. But this is a piecewise function because it has 3 different directions. So I'll take my handy dandy whiteboard that I thought I pulled up. Evidently I didn't. Okay, is everybody seeing my board up there easily? Oconee and Pendleton, do y'all see the board okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we got, I don't care what they're asking for. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do what I usually do, and that is domain, range, increasing, and what? Decreasing. So first of all, I'm going to draw my plane. The plane. And we're going to do increasing and decreasing first. So we read from left to right. So what is that plane doing right there? It's increasing, then it's what? Constant, then it's what? Decrease. Okay, so at that point, we pull our plane over here, and we know that in our x values, we're increasing, we're constant, and we're decreasing. Now remember, the range is the only thing that's in terms of y. So everything else is in terms of what? X. So I'll draw a little line right here and a little line right there. And it goes crazy when I do that. All right, so from negative infinity to what x value are we increasing?
1.
Thank you. Thank you for the articulation. Thank you. And remember, when we're doing increasing and decreasing, Michael Jordan, does it go up or down? At one point at the vertex, you're floating. So that's why we don't put a bracket on increasing and decreasing. And what? From 1 to what?
4.
4, you are constant. And then decreasing from what? 4 to infinity. And that's the increasing and decreasing. Domain on this function, since you have arrows, the domain is what? All real what? Numbers or negative infinity to positive infinity. Range, negative infinity to what? 4. And here, bracket, because of the solid and the context, the range, you go up to 4 and you include 4. Okay, you're not going up and down. This is going down, so you can't say a bracket. Now, technically, you might could put brackets on the constant. You might. I don't know if they do or not, but they probably just use parentheses. Generally, increasing and decreasing does not include brackets. Now, I don't know what they're going to ask, but I think that's pretty much all you can say there. Let's see what they're increasing, decreasing, yeah, domain and range. So, that's negative infinity to 1. There it is right there. 4 to infinity is decreasing, and 1 to 4 is constant. Remember, and this is what people get wrong on the test. They will do domain, range, increasing and decreasing, and they'll, for some reason, pull in the y on the increasing and decreasing, and you don't. The y only tells you what the plane is doing. Okay, so if you want to know what y is, what is y? You take this highlighter, here's y right here. What's y doing? It's either increasing, decreasing, or what? And this, you can basically say, is where the plane is as far as mileage from the airport to the airport, and that kind of thing, from the airport. Take a distance from the airport, which is in x. The y only tells you if it's increasing, constant, or decreasing. Capiche? Yep. And that is a homework question, a test question, so make sure you know that one. I don't pull a lot of piecewise because I really don't like piecewise. There are some that I like, but there are some that are really confusing. So when I get to the piecewise function today, I'll show you which ones I don't like and which ones I do. But once you can read one piecewise, you can read them all. You just need to learn how to read them. Okay, so that's that one, and everybody feels good about themselves. Next question, and that's number 16. And I got 2 of the same one, so evidently they must have hit the button twice or something. This is a test question. It says find whether the function is even or odd. Okay, now remember, what are the tests for even or odd? Even is basically what? F of negative x is equal to what? F of x, right? Yes. F of negative x is equal to f of x. That is even. And odd is f of negative x is equal to negative f of x. Make sure I got that written down right. So here I'm going to plug in, I got x to the 4th minus 2x squared plus 9. And that's f of x. So, and I'm going to plug in a negative x. Well, what's negative x to the 4th? That's going to be x to the what? 4th. What's negative x squared? X squared. So what do we get? Do we get what we started with? Okay, sorry. So this one is even. Should be, because this should be a positive right there. I think that's why they must have got it wrong. So take your handy dandy cursor and put it right there. There we go. And check. And you feel good about yourself. So remember, we went over this last time. There's your 2 graphs, your 2 tests to see if, can I draw a, there you go. I haven't had training. One day I'm going to get training. There you go. So there's your 2 tests. So if you ever test a function to see if it's even or odd, even means that it is symmetrical around the what? Y-axis. Odd is symmetrical around the what?
Origin.
Even means x to the second, x to the fourth, what? The quadratic. Even is a x to the third, x to the fifth, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, nobody has any more questions, so we'll move on to today's sections and try to discourage you as much as possible.
Good.
Because it's self-improvement thing, it's not all that. So let's go and pull up, if I can find them. Where are they? There they are. I think let's see, this is 2.3. Why does it say 2.6? 2.4 is what we need to go over. 2.6, the other one should be 2.5. Yeah, there we go. I'm sorry, I had a brain bubble there for a minute. All right, chapter 2. We're getting into piecewise functions. Now, what the heck is a piecewise function? A piecewise function basically is something that is not flowing like a curve or a straight line. Okay? And usually it's more than one function. So you want to write those two things down. That's basically what they're talking to you there. Let's hit current slide, and there we go. Well, when we get to the second unit, so I can quit using these slides. All right, the absolute value function is a simple piecewise function because you got one going one way and one going the other. Piecewise function, basically you have, a different domain is all real numbers, but you have a change, you have a turn. Okay, you'll see it in just a minute. Mainly, you'll see a breakup of the flow. Okay, here's the break, or there's the turn, and you could say this is a piecewise function. So, why? Because you have a different slope here, and you have a different slope here. If you have something different in the function, then technically you have two different functions. Here's one function with negative x, and here's another function with positive x. So that's what they're saying. Now, this is not the best way to define a piecewise function using a function that you usually don't, relate to a piecewise function. So we're going to move on until I show you one that you can actually see the piecewise. Okay, there is a piecewise function. Now, what I want you to do is take your handy-dandy calculator, or by hand. I'd rather you do it by hand. Draw a sketch of x plus 2 and draw a sketch of 1/2 x squared. And then, and you want to use colored pencils or highlighters, one color for each. And then establish the domain. The domain is given for the first function as x is less than or equal to 0. It's given for the second function as x is greater than 0. So you're going to create a piecewise function here, or graph a piecewise function. And yes, you can use your calculator, but I'd rather you do it by hand because you can't erase very well. You can, but it's a pain, and I'm not going through it, but you can if you want to. You can erase on your calculator. So I'm going to do the blue, and I'm going to just write this one in blue or circle it. And I'm going to do this one, and I hate red, so I'm going to do it in magenta. Or purple. That's more purple than it is magenta. So go ahead and graph those two. And what I tell students to do is I graph the whole thing, sketch it, and then I erase what's not included with the domain. Take your eraser and erase it. So make sure you use some kind of eraser. The best thing to do is do it in pencil, and then after you erase it, take a highlighter or a colored pencil and draw it. So x plus 2, what's the horizontal? What's the y-intercept? 2, Hubert. That's right, class. Thank you. So 1, 2. And then what kind of slope do we have? 1 over what? 1. So it's 45-degree angle. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So we've got a... Everybody with me? That's your blue line. Now we're going to do the magenta line. Or in this case, purple. It shows magenta. Now, that looks like magenta, doesn't it? But it's not. It's purple. I need to fix that. One day we're going to get training. All right. What is x squared? That's a what?
Parabola.
A parabola. So you know it's going to look like the parabola parent graph. But what does this guy say? It's going to be wider. So I'm going to draw mine a little bit wider. Like that. Now I'm going to erase what's not included in the blue domain and the magenta domain. So I'm going to take my handy dandy eraser. Where is x less than or equal to 0 on the blue line? Less than or equal to. Everything to the what? To the left, right? X less than or equal to 0 is over here, right? So I'm going to erase. Oh, really? I didn't know it did that. I thought it's not supposed to do that. But then again, I have had training. There you go. I basically erased what was over here, and I get a solid circle there. Why? Because that equals right there. Okay, now, where is everything greater than 0 on the magenta line? Okay, see, this is supposed to just erase what I touch. Okay, now did that not do that? Conspiracy. And you put a what here? An open circle there. I can't erase the middle. There, now I just erased the whole thing. I suck. Okay, well, y'all did see it, didn't you, for the split second that it was there? Like I said, one day we're going to get training. I'm drawing it again for y'all because I'm a good guy. There we go. That is a piecewise function. Now, the piecewise function basically says that I have two functions represented instead of one. Now, do you work it the same way? Yes. Find f of negative 3. Well, where's the only place that I can find f of negative 3? Where's the only place that's represented at x is equal to negative 3? The blue line or the purple line? So I'm going to plug the negative 3 into the what? The blue function. Now, if this was a good graph, and this is where your table comes in on your calculator, you can go in and just go to the table and go to negative 3, and it'll pop up what? It'll pop up your, what, negative 3 plus 2 is what? Negative 1? So we know that it'll be negative 1. So at negative 3, it's going to be negative 1. Okay? F of 0. Well, we can't do f of 0 in the purple. Why? Because it doesn't what? It doesn't include or equal 0. So we're going to go back to the blue equation. And what is 0 plus 2? 2. Okay? Now this one, f of 3, is going to include the what? The purple line. So 3 squared is what? 9 over 2 is 9 halves. So C would be 9 halves. Sketch the graph to C, but we've already done that. So I'm going to hit enter and see what their graph looks like. Got negative 1, we got 2, and we got 9 halves, which is 4.5. And they're going to graph it, and there it is. And look, it is the same as the one we got. It's a mirror. All right, you try that one. And if you can't do it, just write it up as what? Failure. And that you probably need to quit.
You don't want to do it for us?
No, I'm not going to do it for you. That would encourage you. And just like I told my son, I'm not there to encourage you. He asked me last night, Daddy, do I need to do my homework? I said, no. I said, you want to end up on live PD? Just don't do your homework. You know, you never watch live PD? Boy, now that's some dumbasses. No, I'm sorry. If you want to see what happens when you don't do your schoolwork and you be disrespectful, and that's what happens when you get out of high school or college and you just failed at life. You know, if you're going to be a drug dealer, at least be smart about it. Don't bring attention to yourself. Them guys, they ride around in a jacked up car with the stereo blaring, and what is the police going to do? They're going to target that car. I love the deadhead that ran in the back of the highway patrolman's car because he was wrapping himself a joint, and he ran in the back of his. And the dumbass got out and said, "I'm sorry, I was doing a joint. I was making a joint." That's why I couldn't. I just tase him just for being a deadhead. He got no use of no deadhead. Okay, draw the whole thing, and then take out whatever they tell you to take out with the eraser. I hope mine will work this time. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing the graph. I'm going to have to draw a pretty big one because I'm not even. So there's my graph. Now, what's the first one? It's a straight line, right? So we'll make the first one, we'll make it over day. So where is the y-intercept? You're a winner. And a 45-degree angle. And arrows. Okay, so there's that one. Now if you want to go ahead and cut off the domain, you can. What is x is less than or equal to 2? So that means 1, 2. So that means you're going to have an open or a closed circle here. Closed. I have to pull it away like that. I'm going to train you one day.
I don't believe it.
Y'all wonder why I keep saying that? Because we've had these projectors for 2 years. Half of them are not hooked up because people don't use them because we haven't had any training on them.
I don't believe it until I see it.
I won't believe it either. People say, well, why did you do it? Because I'm that type of person. I'm the type of person, if you put something in front of me, I'm going to figure it out. And maybe that's why I become a math teacher. All right, so there's that line. Now, we're going to do dang old blue. Parlez-vous français? Blue. 1, 2. Okay, now when y is equal to 3, what line is that? It's like what? It's parallel to x, right? So we got a y is equal to 3. 1, 2, 3. And it may, let's say 2. Okay, this is the same spot. Okay, there it is, and I'm going to draw a line right across here. And it does go through that point. But I can only use it between what? I can use it at 2, but I can't what? I can't touch 2. All right, so that's going to be an open circle blue open circle. And I can go to what? 4. 2, 3, 4. So that's a closed circle. And I can erase, and it's not going to do it. I don't know why it's supposed to. Oh, what? Like I said, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm using it on this PowerPoint. Maybe that's why it's doing it. I plug in 2. When you plug in 2, you get 3, right? So that is the same point. It should be. They probably don't even have, they probably have something like this. I don't want to erase it, but they probably have an open circle like right there. And then 2x plus 7, they'll do this in magenta. The 2x, 9 is that, what does that mean right there? That's a y-intercept of what, 7? So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's up here. And we got a negative slope, so it's going this way. Vertical over horizontal, 2 over 1, so that's 2 down, 1 over, 2 down, 1 over. Looks like it's going into this right here. I don't know. Looks like that, maybe. And then what is this one? X has got to be greater than what? 4. So we've got an open circle here, and we're going to... So this kind of looks like what we had a while ago. The homework question. Give me a second. So, y'all remember the increasing, then constant, then decreasing? That's what it looks like. So I'm going to show you what it really looks like. They do a better job than I do because I'm, like I said, I haven't had training. So, what are they drawing it? Are they going to draw it or what? There it is. Okay. Mine's a little bit off. I had mine starts right here. X is greater than, maybe I didn't. Let me go back. Oops. And I don't know why mine, I must have drew it too high. It needs to be down here. I didn't draw it quite right. It needs to be right about here. So I doubt I'll be able to. So there it is. All right. That's why it's important for you to have a piece of graph paper if you're asked to do this, because graph paper does help. And I would throw a couple of sheets in your notebook just in case you need it. Or you can use your handy-dandy calculator. Yes, ma'am.
Why is it down there? Why is it on?
Because, like I said, this one,
Yes.
because I didn't draw it right, I had it too far up here. Okay? I had it crossing right here, and it's really crossing right here, but I didn't have my graph drawn right.
Okay, well, why is it at -1 though?
Huh?
Why is it at...
Because that's where 4, plug in 4. 2 times 4 is what? -2 times 4 is -8.
Oh, no,
-8 plus 7. That's why you have to plug in to see where that point is. I didn't do it.
Okay.
Okay, that's my fault. But that's what it looks like.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, now why is this one solid? Because a solid always cancels out of what? An open. And remember, this one right here is what? Open. So that one cancels this one out. So that's why. Remember when I drew it on top of each other and it canceled it out? That's why I did that. All right, so what is happening? Increasing from negative infinity to 2, constant from 2 to what? 4. And then decreasing from 4 to what? Infinity. So that's a piecewise function. Now, the last 2 that we've done are the types that I will ask you to do. Yeah, we'll do another one, I think, here in just a second. Here we go. To graph, now, this is important because it actually shows you how you can do this, okay? And that's, it is kind of, and you have to type in this right here, and it can be a pain, okay? But you can do it. Let me go back a minute. To graph a piecewise function with a TI, blah, 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 we use the test, okay? And or logic features which return a 1 for a true statement and 0 for a false statement. The figure shows how f of x can be entered as y1. And that's the x plus 1 from -2 plus 3x greater than 2. And you can plug the whole thing in. I don't fool with that because I'll tell you why. I think it's more important that you understand what a piecewise function is rather than you graphing it on a graphing calculator. So I'm not a big fan of that. Let's see if we can do another one. All right, this one is already given. It says write the formula for the piecewise function. Well, we can do that since it's got a piece of graph paper behind it. Okay? So, we got 2 straight lines, so what do? Well, and we'll get back to graphing one in a minute. Go ahead and find the slope, or find the line on the left, find the equation, and find the equation for the line on the right. That means you got to pick 2 points. Well, on the one on the left, which points am I going to pick? 1 and 1 and 0 and 0. Why?
Because that's where the line is.
Yeah, but why am I going to pick those 2 points? I could pick points down there. Why am I picking those 2? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep the numbers what? Low. Keep the numbers low. I'm not going to pick -5, -5. Why in the Hades would I pick -5 and -5? Okay? So we're going to pick 0, 0, and 1, 1. How about the other one? I'm going to pick 2 and 1 and 3 and 0. Okay? So I'm going to write down the points that I'm going to pick. So this one, I'm going to use magenta, and I'm going to pick that point and that point. Now I can pick any point down through here.
But we're not gonna do that.
But why would you pick 2 negatives over 0, 0, and 1, 1? Whips and chains, maybe you like pain, I guess. I don't know. So 0, 0, and 1, 1. And I'm going to use blue. No, not blue. I'm going to use Verde. And we're going to use that point
I have a football question.
and that point. What?
I said I have a football.
You have a football question. What's your football question?
How come Georgia plays South Carolina but not Clemson?
Because of the conferences and schedules. They played them last year. I really think, shut up, Hubert. I think they should do away with cupcake games. Georgia has 3 cupcake games. I think they're playing somebody like Dorman High School this weekend. I don't know who they're playing. Some Georgia State something.
They're playing Tri-County Tech.
Yeah, that's basically who they're playing. Man. All right, so there's our 2 points. Now, what's the first thing you do when you're trying to find the equation of a line? Starts with an S. You find the slope. So I'm going to take my handy dandy purple, and we're going to find our slope over here. M is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, which is equal to parentheses minus parentheses over parentheses minus parentheses. If you walk into my office 10 years from now and tell me, Hubert, here's my son, whatever, I need you to find the slope of this line. I'm going to use those parentheses. I've got 4 degrees, and I still use those parentheses today. How many degrees do y'all have? 0? Y'all got a diploma, right? My daughter, I got a job, and I got a diploma. My daughter told my son, yeah, I'm older than you, I've got a job, and I've got a diploma. They were fussing. Anyway, You don't have any degrees yet, so what should you use? Those parentheses. Why? Well, I know how to do it. Well, let me throw a couple of fractions in there and a couple of negatives, and let's see how good you are. Because most of the time, people make careless mistakes and those parentheses help you. So, which way do we read?
Left or right?
X of 1, Y sub 1, X of 2, Y sub 2. Plug and chug. 1, 0, 1, 0. So what's our slope? What's 1 over 1? It's a miracle. Now we use the point slope equation. What's the point slope equation? Point slope equation is y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. Y minus parentheses equals parentheses times x minus parentheses. And I'm going to pick 1. I'm going to pick 0, of course. Why am I going to pick 0, 0? Because it's easy math. And solve for y. Y is equal to what? X. And that is the equation for this line. All right, now you use what I just used there to do the green line. Now once we find the equation, then we're going to set up the domain. Y'all got a question? Three Musketeers got a question?
Okay. I get the slope. I get where you get the m from.
Okay.
Start from there.
Well, after you get the slope, you've got to go to this guy.
Okay, why are we...
That's called the point slope equation. And you use it when you have a point and a what? A slope. Once you get the slope, and you've already got a point, you use the point slope equation. And then you plug and chug. Y minus parentheses. You're going to plug into this guy, and this guy, and solve for y. You'll see it may be better here because that's 0, 0, 1, 1. You might see it better on this one. Because I didn't go through and solve for y, because y minus 0 is y, and x minus 0 is x. So it's really real simple because the zeros knock everything out.
Okay, but what does that...
What does that what?
I'm just confused.
Spit it out. Spit out the question.
Okay, so y equals x.
Is the equation for this blue line.
Wait, okay.
That's what you just
that
found.
makes sense. Okay, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to find the slope here.
Because... But that's just simple.
That's all. Well, this one is a simple problem. X of 1, y sub 1, x of 2, y sub 2. 0, 1, 3, 2. What's 0 minus 1? And what's 3 minus 2? So this slope is equal to what? Now use your point slope equation. Y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. Y minus parentheses is equal to parentheses times x minus parentheses. And I'm going to pick this one. You don't have to. You can pick either one. So y sub 2 is what? Or y sub 1 is 0. My slope is negative 1. And what's x of 1? 3. So y is equal to negative x. What's negative 1 times negative 3?
3.
And that is the equation for this line. Y is equal to negative x plus 3. So now I've got my two equations. And this should be familiar. Y'all should be saying, oh yeah, I remember calculating slope, and I remember doing the point slope equation. Everybody should be saying that. If you're saying, I have no earthly idea what you're doing, then I've just shown you how to do it. Okay, we'll do some more questions. You send me the homework questions, and I'll be glad to do them. You with me, Oconee and Pendleton?
Yes,
Y'all settle down. Please settle down. I can't talk right now. I mean, I can't hear myself talk. Y'all are so loud. All right, so what's left? Well, you got to do the domain. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why do you have brackets?
I just did brackets because I don't want to have a bunch of parentheses.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm going to erase some of this because we need to do the domain for each of those lines now.
So the whole point is find the
The equation of the line, to find this and to find this. So now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase this. Now look at it. Now it erases in each individual.
Whoa.
So now you said
When I try to erase each individual part of the line, it erases the whole line.
this is because there's two functions going two different numbers. Makes sense.
Okay, so I've got two lines, I got two equations. So now I just got to fix the domain.
Okay, question.
Yes.
So you just found the domain and range for each line by itself? Like all
Yes.
the lines
That's
together?
why it's called a piecewise function. Remember in the first previous equation, it looked like this. F of x is equal to, it had a big brace, and then it had a function here, and then a domain here, and a function here, and a domain here. That's what this is going to look like.
Gotcha.
Okay, so the first one is the purple line, and we said it's y is equal to x. So f of x is equal to x, and it's going from negative infinity to what? To what? To 1. And it's got a what circle at 1?
A closed.
Closed circle. So we're going to have to write that as a domain in just a second. The green line, what's so funny? What are y'all laughing at? The green line is f of x is equal to negative x plus 3. And I'm using from 1 to what? To infinity.
So you use the bracket when it includes. Okay.
So now I want y'all to write just like this. You got to write it as a piecewise function now. You're going to take that information we just wrote down, and now you're going to write it like this. F of x is equal to, and you're going to put the function here, x, and negative x plus 3, and then if you want to put a comma here, that's fine. Now, somebody give me the domain for the purple. X is what?
Less or equal.
Good. X is less than or equal to 1. And then what about this bottom one?
X is greater than 1.
X is greater than 1. And that is the final answer from the directions.
So you don't. Okay.
You got a closed circle here.
So the y is the f of x.
Yes, that's the same thing as y. You can just put a y right here if you want to. But you got to hold your pinky up when you say f of x. That's just a fancy way of writing y.
Okay, just give me a second.
Okay. We'll let it sink in for a second. And when you leave, we're going to talk about you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
At least I'm going to understand wrong with me. Okay, I got
That's what high school students do, right? As soon as you walk out, they talk about you. Yeah. Let me tell you something. It doesn't stop with high school. It happens in the real world too.
Yeah.
That's why I stay by myself pretty
Okay,
much.
so x is greater than b. Okay, I got you.
Okay, who's got questions? Oconee, Pendleton? Y'all settle down. Now let's see if we got it right. Let's see if we know what we're doing.
And then can we do it by ourselves?
Look at there. There's the 2 lines.
Yeah.
And let's see what they got. Look at there. That should be what we got.
Yeah, that's what we got.
I feel good.
I just got a little shook when they said like, range.
You feel good about yourself?
Yes.
We
Good.
didn't do the range though, did we?
Oh, well, let's go back and let's do the range.
Okay, 'cause I was like, I'm doing that
I'm
too,
sorry,
baby.
my fault. Okay. So, here we go. So, the range goes from negative infinity to what?
1.
Well, it goes past 1. It goes up here. It goes to what?
To 2.
It goes to 2. Do you touch 2?
No, so you use it.
So you would say from negative infinity to 2. And 2 gets a parenthesis. Let's see if that's what they got.
Pause.
So that's the test question. And the previous 2 that we drew are test questions. So you got 3 test questions so far. That's out of... Okay. You got 3 test questions. Let me go ahead and show you which one I don't care too much for.
Well, don't show me that one, 'cause then if you know.
Well, you need to see it because I don't want you to freak out and go crazy when you see it. Okay?
Okay.
It should be, there it is right there, stair step.
Huh?
We will talk about the stair step.
It don't look too bad though.
We will talk about it, but I want you to understand that one, is it confusing to a lot of people? Yes. But I will explain it, and there's an example to explain it. And it's better if I explain it to you with the example rather than just show it to you and then explain the example. This is when it's easier for me to explain it with the sample. So we'll go over the stair step when y'all come back. Okay? Now, what should y'all be working on right now? You should be working on sum of 2.5 and below. So if you're on 1.1, you've missed the boat. Okay? If you're on 2.2 and 2.3, or good, that's good. Go ahead and try a few of 2.5 tonight. If you, or the weekend, if you can't do it, send me the questions and I'll go. Do not do stair steps because I haven't covered it. Okay? So with that being said, let me go and pull up the and see if it'll work. No, it doesn't log us out. Let's get, I don't know what I do first, but attendance tracker, let's go with 110, let's go with 11. And that is, oh, let me shut off the